Hey there, it's Jacques from Heroes and Legends, and today we're going to look at the top 10 hottest cards from Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Now today is the Monday after the Pro Tour. If you didn't get a chance to see it, check out some of the videos on the Magic the Gathering YouTube site. There were some incredible matches. It was an amazing top 8, and we saw a fair amount of diversity in the format, much more than I thought we would see. Bat Company, I'll address it right off the bat, the elephant in the room. It was in force on day one, almost 20% of the field. However, a lot of them were eliminated for day 2. Having said that, though, 2 still made the top 8, one being piloted by LSV, so you know that got plenty of airtime, right? So Bat Company still a thing, but maybe not as much of a force as it appeared going into the weekend. But let's talk about individual cards and how they performed and what ones you want to watch out for when you go to your Friday Night Magic, or maybe some cards you're thinking about picking up to build some of these new decks that we saw. So let's look at honorable mentions first. We have Hangerback Walker. Now that's a classic card. It's been around for a while. It's been doing work in Standard pretty much since the time it came out. It continues to be a great way to throw down a 0 creature that you can let die for your Avacyn trigger. But at the same time, what I think made it meet the honorable mentions criteria this time around is the fact that not only does it do that, but it also is a great way to deal with control decks that are looking to do board sweeps. It's just another obstacle that they have to get around, and control is becoming a bigger part of the format, and we definitely saw that this weekend. In fact, a control deck even won the Pro Tour. Next we have Grim Flyer, and this really started to have its coming out party during the Star City Games weekends, but this weekend with the Pro Tour, we saw this card out in force in the Delirium decks, and Delirium decks are a thing. This is a big part of them. I mean, whenever you have a 2 casting cost creature that has this much upside, expected to see a lot of play. I mean, think Voice of Resurgence. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the best card ever printed or anything, but when you're only paying 2 for it, it goes a long way. Next is Wretched Griff, and Emerge, very, very powerful. We've seen decks completely built around Emerge. As a matter of fact, there was a Teamer Emerge deck that came in second, piloted by Owen Turtenwald, and there was also a second copy of a similar deck in the top 8. So cards like Wretched Griff, and we're going to see another one once we get into the top 10, I think are going to play a pretty big role in Standard for a little while to come. And finally, last honorable mention is Grapple with the Past. This is a card that's shown up in Delirium decks, but it's also playing a big role in that Teamer Emerge deck to help you get your big finisher, which, again, we'll talk about in a little bit. All right, let's start off with number 10 with Sylvan Advocate. This card, no surprise to anyone, it was going to be there. This is a card that shows up, obviously, in Bat Company, but also ramp decks. Basically, if you're playing green and you're playing some lands, this is going to be a good card for you. So this weekend was no exception. Saw tons of play in a lot of different places. Number 9 is Ishkana Graf Widow. Now, when this card first was previewed, before the Eldritch Moon came out, I think a lot of players looked at this and said, what is this? Why is this even a mythic? Well, time did show us why it is a mythic, and incredible showing in the first couple weeks of the Star City Games Open. Delirium decks were a thing there, and now the Pro Tour just cemented the fact that this card will continue to be a force in Standard for some time to come. Number 8 is Spell Queller. Yep, that's right, a $15 rare already from Eldritch Moon. And this is a card that just fits into the Bat Company deck. Now, like I said at the top of the show, Bat Company wasn't as dominant this weekend of the Pro Tour as it was coming into it. However, it's still Bat Company. It's still a good deck. 2 of them made the top 8. With LSV playing it, got plenty of camera time. And a lot of players already have this deck. They just need to pick up cards like Spell Queller that are new to add to it. So a lot of folks are going to be able to get this deck updated with a little bit of less investment as opposed to buying a completely new deck. So you're still going to see plenty of these at Friday Night Magic, and Spell Queller was a huge part of the deck, along with its partner coming in at number 7, Reflector Mage. There's nothing that says tempo like playing a Reflector Mage, bouncing a creature they can't play at their next turn, and then the following turn you go ahead and Spell Queller. It's a huge tempo play, and it's really the engine that's made the Bat Company decks as strong as they have been over the last few weeks. Coming in number 6 is Kalitas, Trader of Get. This was a great card prior to Eldritch Moon coming out, but this card has really started to shine in some of these control builds. Now, if you can get a Source of Zombies, which surprisingly is a lot easier than maybe we would have thought. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But if you can do that, Kalitas is just a house. And we saw this in Lucas Blohan's winning deck, the black-white control deck. This was a huge part of it. He was able to gain a lot of life and even take some hits by some big Eldrazi to stay alive long enough to win the game. And it was all due to the fact that Kalitas came out early and did a lot of work. Coming in number 5, I promised another emerged creature, and this is Elder Deep Fiend. This one, fantastic showing of the Pro Tour. This was an Owen Turnwald's build of the Teamer Emerge deck, and this was a great tempo play to help Owen get to his big finishers. This was a way to either slow down the opponent by tapping down their lands, or in some cases just tapping down creatures to get in for an attack, or protect himself until he could get something to deal with the creatures on the board. Excellent card. Watch out for this one. This one's still relatively cheap too. You can pick these up for just over $6 is the current listed price. You can probably find them cheaper than that in a lot of places, and it might be worth it because this is a very strong card. Number 4, Kozilek's Return. And what made this card return to the forefront? Well, Big Eldrazi did, and we have one of the biggest ones we're going to talk about in a few minutes, and that's Emrakul. And this is a card that combos incredibly well with Emrakul. Now, Emrakul is a very, very good card, but it becomes a great card when you can play it in conjunction with Kozilek's Return. Playing Emrakul doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the game. Playing it with one of these in your graveyard pretty much is going to lock up the game at most of the time. Number 3, it had to be here, right? Collected Company. I know a lot of folks are probably tired of seeing this card, and like I said, it didn't have as much of a dominating presence this time around, but it still had a pretty dominating presence on day 1, and that continued into day 2 and even to the top 8. It was nice to see that we weren't like at a top 8 of like 6 or 7 Collected Company decks, only 2, but you can't deny the fact that this has played a huge part in the meta for quite some time. It continued to this weekend. Now this weekend, of course, will be the last Pro Tour in the standard meta that it will be legal. Next time around, it will have already been moved out. Number 2, Liliana the Last Hope. What can I say about this card? A lot of folks, when this card was previewed, felt underwhelmed. They felt like it should have done more, that the ability should have been bigger. This card did crazy work this weekend. We did see the glimmer of potential in this card over the first 2 weeks of the Star City Games Open. There were some decks really running this and doing a great job with it for their Delirium builds, for example. However, yes, this does fit into Delirium quite well, but it also fits into the Pro Tour winning white-black control deck. And there seems to be 2 ways to play this card, 2 strategies around it. One is you're playing this cheap Planeswalker and you're just getting yourself value off the +1 and -2 abilities. The other way to go about it is you put this down and you're going for the ultimate. You're playing this Protect the Queen game, where if you can keep her alive for a few turns and ultimate this card, you're pretty much almost guaranteed to win the game. It's crazy in certain decks, especially if you have a lot of control to keep her alive. This card just runs away with games and can outrun other big threats like Emrakul, and that is exactly how the finals played out. And coming in at number 1 is Emrakul, the Promised End. Now, if you didn't catch the Pro Tour, some spoilers, the finals were between Owen Turnwald and Lucas Blohan. Owen playing the Teamer Emerge deck, which really focused on getting Emrakul out as quickly as possible and trying to win that way, where the control deck was trying to play Liliana, protect her, get her up to her ultimate, and just be able to win out with zombies. And much like the story went in the lore, Lucas Blohan did win with Liliana and a whole lot of zombies over Emrakul. Emrakul, it was very close, but at times was just a turn or 2 slow getting out when it needed to get out, at least in that particular matchup. Having said that, though, can't deny the presence of Emrakul in this Pro Tour. This card was showing up everywhere. Most decks felt like they were running 1 to 3 copies of it. Not only did we see this run in Teamer Emerge decks, but there were a number of ramp decks and Delirium decks that were really working on just getting a copy of this out. And when it happened, it usually meant game over. This card has become huge, and obviously whenever a card has a great showing of the Pro Tour. It has had a price spike associated with that. So hopefully once players collect their copies of this card, it will start to slow down again. But right now it's really starting to spike pretty hard, and it is a fantastic card. Anyone who watched coverage this weekend can tell you firsthand. So that is our list for the hottest cards from the Pro Tour weekend. If you haven't had a chance to watch some coverage yet, check it out on the YouTube channel. There's some incredible matches out there, some really great moments. This was one of the more fun Pro Tours to watch, I think, in a while for me. I just really liked the cards, I really liked the decks, and just what was going on with the format. It was a lot of fun, and a lot of amazing players getting all the way through to the top 8. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality content for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't yet had a chance to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.